Hello everyone and welcome back to the next part of the Deluxe Wallet Folio. So what we've done so far is we have followed the cutting guide to create the base of our folio. And if you want that cutting guide, if you head to the description below, you can join my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul. And in the file section there, you can download a copy of that PDF. So again, this is a collaboration with Intercraft. So the kit they've given me to work with is the Vagabond Aviator, which is a lovely collection. And you can also get a pad of just the background papers, which would have worked really well for this. You definitely get enough to cover one of these. So again, the challenge was to decorate the entire album using just the one kit. So let's have a think about the biggest parts first. Because when I'm using a pad like this, which has got quite limited numbers of the 12 pattern papers, because some of them are used up with images like that, and there's a tags one, I think, somewhere. Here we are, tags. So we've lost 2 pages really there, except we're quite lucky with this one, it has got a back this time. Some of them haven't, they got tags on the back. So when I'm making the cover, I'm thinking first about which pieces I'm using to cover the biggest piece. Now I have designed this quite cleverly because all of these little books and wallets inside will all be covered with 6x4 pieces of paper, same as a 6x4 photo, which means I'll be able to get 6 pieces from one sheet. So before we get into there though, let's start on the cover. So I'm going to look through my pad and I'm looking for something where I can cut in half at 6 inches, because my cover is 6¼ inches, or just a little bit bigger because we did give that little extra 1/16 of an inch, but I'm going to ignore that with the pattern papers. Now, I might have to think a little bit cleverly here. Some of these pages, I'll need 1-inch strips. So I think if I cut this at 6 inches, I'm going to lose a little bit of his head. So if I cut a 1-inch strip off, I'll be then up to 7. I will get his head in. So I think that's what I'll do. Let's use this one for the cover, because, you know, it is the Vagabond Aviator, so let's get him in his plane, ready to go. So really have a think when you get your papers out. Don't just think of them as they are. See if you can trim a bit off so you can keep your images in place. So that now will come in useful for some of my flaps. So I'm going to keep that aside. And now let's turn it round so I can cut my 6-inch piece. Now you can see I've got his head is actually in shot, and across was 8½, or it's best to check. So it's 8¼ Now again, I'm going to use my ruler to see if I cut here at 1/4. I'm going to cut off there. I really do want a little bit more. So wide, if I cut off an extra inch here, again, this will come now for my flaps. Let's open this up a bit. And our cover was 8½, so I'm going to come back to 8¼ and just sort of cut down what I'm using, the size of my page, down by 1/4 inch. That's how I do my mats and layers. So again, distress ink, as I often do. Black soot this time. I'm just going to ink the edges. That just gets rid of that white core we had. Now, some glue on the back, some nice strong glue. Trying to get close to the edge. and across the middle. Then I'm just going to put some glue as well. Oh, almost forgot, before we do that, let's put our magnets on. Now I'm not going to be shy with magnets, and I'm going to have to work quite quick. So I'm going to use my black tape. Let's have one there. Let's have one there. I said these magnets are going to hold our folio shut. So I said I'm not going to be shy with them. I'm going to actually put 4 lots. Now for those of you asking about magnets, mine are neodymium, half a mil thickness. So I've used the tape to put the bottom one on. Then place the second magnet on top so the polarization is correct. I'm just going to put some double-sided tape on top so that it'll catch when I shut my folio. So I'm trying to work quickly here before the glue on my cover dries. So I'm just going to close my folio correctly, lining it up, because then the magnets will pull it into place. The 2 in the middle haven't. There we are. And just to smooth over the edges, I'm going to put a piece. Oh, they're all in line. That saved me quite a bit of time. Now what that's done is smoothed over the edge so that we get a cleaner, crisper cover without the bumps of the magnets. I think I might have just done it. Well, that was against time, wasn't it? Here we go. We've got our cover done. Now, if you've got the chipboard pieces or anything, the die cuts, you can now add some extra bits onto here, or some of the fussy cut elements from the inside pages. You could fussy cut some of these and then mount them onto the front as well. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. We're going to need a little bit more to cover here now. So let's bring back the trimmer. Now I have tried to see if I get New York to fit in, but it doesn't. So these little bits will come at the end for doing our ties and things. Okay. So let's come down. This was, if I remember correctly, 2.5, was it? Yeah, so we want a 2 1/4 piece. Now, of course, we can't just stick this on because we've got those angled parts. So let's grab a pen and I'm going to mark. So I'm lining it up so I've got that even edge on there, and I'm marking actually where my chipboard is. There we go. And what I'm going to do then is just eyeball so the 2 black bits are here and then my track is here, but the black bits are just out a little bit. So that's if I was cutting it perfectly on the track. So I'm just going to move them across a little bit. There we go. And hopefully now this will give me, let me check it before I waste time inking. I want to take Do I think I'm going to take a little bit more off this time? Let's trim off so let's have a look. That's better. And before I glue this down, I'm actually going to wait until later on to find out what I'm going to put on the back, and I'll use this then to trace like a template, because I'll need one to go here as well. Could I use this? I think we could. Let's use this bit, and let's do it now. Let's use my pencil this time. And my scissors. Now this has actually got some text, so I've got to make sure it's the right way up. There we go. Oh, do we want it? Actually, I quite like that way up. Which do you think? There's a bit more text on this side. Let's change my mind. Let's go with this side. If I'd looked on the back earlier, I might have used this actually on the front, because it would have looked nice, but I've cut them up the other side now. Never mind. Oh, do you know what? I got worried then, but I'd done the wrong side, but they're quite similar, isn't it? Just without the Vagabond. So let's close this. And there we go. Now the rest of the bits, I'll use some of my scraps from later pages to do the top and the insides. So let's start thinking about page 1. Now the reason I'm thinking about page 1 before anything else is I need something big for the image. Now if you remember the construction video, I said I may use a pocket or something here. And that'll depend on what papers I use and where it would cut. So again, I should be able to get, if I find a piece of paper which is any good, I can cut off at 6 inches. This could be the one. Because I've got her in the top half. So if I cut here, I'm going to have that. And the legs would look really strange, but I can use the back then for another piece. So let's have a look. If I'm sticking to just the Vagabond, yeah, I can chop off at 8 1/4 there, and I've got her saved for something else. So let me cut this at 8 1/4. Then Lady Vagabond is still in one piece with me. So I'm thinking ahead to some of the other pages as well when I'm doing this sort of thing. Right, there we go. So we've got that one and we've got this one. So on this one, as you can see, we've got this little bit here. I think that would make a nice tuck spot, and it's 1 inch, which means I now want to make a pocket which is 1 1/4 inches. And I think I could use one of the scrap bits. I've got a long one. Yes, we've got. Oh, I cut that. Practicing something else. Looks like I'll have to get you. So to make a pocket, as I said, I want it to be 1 1/4 inches tall. So I'm going to 1 1/4, but I also want to add an extra 1/2 inch. That's for making the folded bit, and it's going to be 8 1/4, but I'll need 2 bits each side to stick it down. So I'm going to go to 9 1/4. So I'm going to do just 1/2 inch on 3 of the sides. So you can see why this wasn't part of it, because it really does depend on your papers. Just going to chop off the corners up to where the 2 score lines cross. And now score them. Let's attach these to page 1. When I say page 1, I think I've only got 1 page, so to speak. Everything else is flaps and gatefold pages. And I've measured that wrong. It should have been 8. It was 8 1/4. It was not 8 1/2. Let me redo it quickly. That's just typical. So 1 3/4 by 8 1/4. So it was 8 1/2, wasn't it? It was an 8 1/2 page. 8 1/4 was the paper underneath. We were all shouting at me there. 9 1/2. Oh, that's just typical. Let's see how quick I can get this done. 1 long edge. This is not the best. Don't be doing it. Try doing it on a flat surface. Okay. Cut off. Cut off. Fold, 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 and finish. Here we go. Now, which should fit across. Yes. So I'm just lining it up now at the bottom of my page. And the 2 edges. There we go. So now, in theory, both sides would work. We can put that and that. I quite like the look of that. So let's get them inked. So this one is quite a shallow pocket here with me now. Of course, if you've got a line further up on your paper, you will just have a deeper pocket. But really work your album to your papers. So have a look at your papers and go from there, rather than trying to make your papers fit your album. So again, just some glue. And some glue onto that one. I think that ties in quite nicely. And there we go. And this is where now I would cut some of these tags and drop them into there, or some of the journal cards from that page. That's where they would go with me. So if you wanted to put a little divider or some glue in the middle as well, then your 6x4 would still fit in. So let's have a look. 4.5 would be here. So let's put a little line of glue there just to hold it down the middle. Now I've just had a thought about the back. You don't want too much bulk on these pages. So I've just had an idea is, this is larger than 5x7. So I'm going to use my Cool Cats photo mats, the photo slot dies. They'll cut 4 little corners in there, and then it'll be a nice flat page, but also a place to put a photo. So I'm not going to glue it because I haven't got my large die cutter machine now, or the dies handy. But I think that'll be a nice way of finishing that. So I'm going to leave that as it is for now. But what I'll do, I'll just put a tiny bit of tape here. Low tack would be better, but I haven't got it, so I'm just going to take some tackiness off. And I'm just going to place that there, just so I know that's been used, and I'm not going to cut it up for something else. So that's our 2 main pieces done there. The other large place we've got one is right in the middle. So we can open our gatefolds, and we've got another 6 by 8.25 to find for here. So let's have a look through our pages. I don't think we've got one which is going to go as nice as I'd like. So I think we'll just go with a nice pattern. She's a bit taller than 6. Yeah. Ooh, could that... Let's have a look. Oh, again, it's too wide for what I want today. Oh, this could work. 6. Let's go for this one. So here we go. Let's get our trimmer back. So again, we're going to cut it in half. And again, I do want the majority of that plane in shot. So actually what I could do is cut from this side, 8.25. That's going to work nicely. And I've still got some pieces there to make some flaps later on. And if I do 8.25 here ready, because we've got these 2 flaps here to do, and they are 1.25, so I just need some 1-inch strips for there. So I'm just going to cut 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that'll show that all of that is tying in together because I brought it all from the same piece. Do you know what? Thinking back, that would have made a nice cover piece, wouldn't it? Never mind, we've done it now. So I'm just going to ink all the edges. And before I ink these are going to go on the flaps, so they need a bit of corner. So I've used the large one for my cardstock, so I'm going to use the medium, the 7mm, for the paper. So that'll give me a nice rounded matinee. Making sure that 2 of them have got the curves on the top, and 2 of them will have the curves on the bottom. So that'll be the top, and this would be the bottom. And now I can ink these. And I've got to remember as well, before I glue the backs, that I want to put my brads through, because I'm going to make a corset closure with these. Although I do have a sneaky way of making folio closures if you've put your paper down already. I'm going to go for the more usual way today. Now I have been thinking of doing like a mini series based around closures, because although I do them in the videos, it might be handy to have them as their own little videos. So let me know what you think, if that would be of any use, or would it not be anyways, because you can just find them in my videos as it is, or if they're just to hand, would that be easier? Okay, so now trying to jiggle it so it's in shot. Let's have them off to the side, and the big piece. Here we go. How am I going to fit it all in? Yes, here we are. So let's glue our center panel down. Now I'm going on to the grey board, so I'm going to just add a little bit more in there. Open up those 2 flaps. I'm just lining it between all those score lines. And then, which 2 should we use? I like that one on the top and this one on the bottom. So we're going to glue the fronts of these flaps. There we go. Here's the bottom, and here's the top. Now I'm applying enough glue here, because this is where our brads are going to be plugged into. Okay, so I'm going to bring my ruler in. Now my piece of cardstock is 8.5. So 4 1/4 would be the middle. So I'm just going to eyeball that. The way I've also done it in the past is taken a scrap piece of paper, the same size as the flap, and folded it in half to get things exactly in the middle. That works too. I'm going to mark it at 7. So that was 1.5 in, wasn't it? 7, 8.5, yeah. So 1.5 on this side as well. So that's where my brad closures are going to go. So I'm going to do the same here. So 1.5, 4.25, and 7. So let's just make them into larger holes. I feel it. There we are. Okay. So what are our folio closures? Well, the Cool Cats on their website have something called folio dies, and they're just circles with a hole exactly in the middle. And there's also then one with larger circles and smaller circles. This is the middle one. So you can mat and layer. And just so I've done it ahead of time, here's one I made earlier. So the folio circles will cut like this. That's all I do then is glue 2 of them back to back for strength, and then use the smaller circle to cut my patterned paper, so I get a nice coordinating die. And brad folios, so we're just going to use some little black brads today. And we're just going to pop them through. 1. So I've made a bunch of these ready. And 2. I go quiet here now as I concentrate on get these legs in. There's those 3 done. Of course I need some more on the top. Just gonna get a couple more. And last one. There we go. We've got our 6 folio brads in there. We can now glue on our other piece of paper to hide those. And there we go. And then it's just a case of getting some wax cord. I'm going to start up top left. Got a bit too much cord there. Yeah. Just give it a couple of ties around. just going to work out the length you want. So when you close it, you're still going to have a little bit of space there, because we want to put some of our documents in there, our photos or whatever we want to put in our memory book. So this is the corset closure that I've been using for quite a while now. It's a lovely way of closing a big pocket like this with quite a bit of interest. There we go. And I just want it to come down a little bit. And then I've just got more of those folio circles, but this time I've used a perfect circle. That's what they're called from the Cool Cats. It's got a nice pierced detail to it, but it hasn't got the hole in the middle. So that then just finishes off my ribbon, my thread end. So let's put some more, and I've got a couple more of these ready made. So there's just 2 black circles sandwiched on the thread with a decorative piece on top underneath. So all of our large panels have now been covered. So it's time to start thinking now about, here we go, about those 6x4 pieces. So now have a think about one of the pattern papers you really like, because one sheet of it 12x12 now will cover these 2 books and also your slider books. So we're going to try and get it out of one sheet. So let's put the book to the side and let's grab our, so I'm looking for a patterned paper. Here we are, this one's nice. Let's go for this. Sorry, Sir Vagabond, I'm going to be using the back of you. And as I said, we're going to be cutting these into 6x4s. So 4 and 4. Now I'm going to keep that hole for now, and I'm just going to cut these to 6. And again, I'm just going to ink the edges. So the reason I didn't cut that third piece is they're going to come for the flaps, and I know in this case they are going to get to the 6-inch, so go up in stages and stop at the 6-inch, but it could be if you're making a different album or your flap's a bit different, that 6-inch cut across the middle would affect how many layers you'll get from one piece. So it's just a habit I get into about not making the cuts until I know the size I'll definitely need. There we go. Just bring it in. Now I keep leaving this bit because in my original, of course, I had it coming down. Right, so which ones are we going to keep? So these 2 worked like that. So I think I'll put them on the inside, and we put these on our flip books. Now this bit might be out of shot unless I flip my book this way. Here we go. And I was going to put that one on here. I'm right, aren't I? Yeah, so we've got that pattern continuing then across the 2. go. So if you've got an image, now the Vagabond Aviator doesn't seem to have as many which you can cut across at that 6" to have a nice pattern, but if you've got an image, you'll be able to see it going across. And now let's open these flaps, the slider flaps. I'm going to glue these down. Now these two panels here won't have a closure attached to these. The closure is actually going to go on the sliders. But if you were going to use magnets, you would obviously want to put your magnets there and there before putting these on. Now that is what I did with this original one, because I can't remember, there was a reason that I liked the magnets, but I didn't use them here. I think it was just then, you've got to make sure you put them all back in the right order, all those sliders, because otherwise the magnets won't be lined up correctly. So I decided to go for folio closures. So there we go. We've covered those 4 pieces, but we still have this long piece to do our covers. So that's 1 1/4, and our sliders are 1 1/4, which means the flaps will be 1 inch pieces. So I will need probably more than I'll be able to get out of this, I think, because I need 2. So I need these 4 for the flip books, and I need 2 for, I need 8 for my slider books. So actually I may get them all out of this. And the last one. I think there's a chance I might have cut one of these at the wrong size because I haven't got an inch left. It's a bit, oh. This is where I'm going to use one of my Cool Cat tips. If I had some low tack tape, oh here we are, I'll take it off my die. Stick it to your board, cut. There we go. We should have enough now to cover all of these. So let's start on our flip books first then. I wonder if I got 2 of these, that they'd make a nice front. I don't think there are, no. But they would match nicely. So I'm going to go for those 2. So we're going to do the front first. So again, I'm going to corner round. And this is the front, so I'm going to glue these down. Here we go. Let's bring it back in. And did I lose the other one? Yeah. There we go. Okay. So as I said, those two pieces of paper are 4 by 1 inch. So when I did those long flaps earlier, I said you can create a template. So that's what I've done here. I've got a piece which is the same size as my pattern paper. I'm going to bring my scoreboard, and I'm making a template this time because I've got a few of these flaps to do. So I've scored it at 1/2 inch there and at 2 inch. So I've just done the halves. I take my piercing tool and make a nice big hole. Now when I place this on top, I can get it in the middle. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to use my folio strips circles again. So I've got a couple more still made up. Get a couple of the brads. Can't get it through the hole. There we are. And then just open the brad the other side. I've got all these ones we can use to cover now. Make sure that curved slot is going to be now on the top. So I'm just going to cover that brad. There we go. So now we've got our folio in place there. Obviously we need somewhere then to tie it here. Now you could have done your brad hole there, but I don't like to do that because it's only the paper then. It's not going through any cardstock. So there is a different way you can do it. And this is my cheat method for if I've forgotten to put closures on and already put my papers on. I'm going to take my folio circle and glue it. I'm going to take a second one and put it on for strength, and then take my patterns paper. Let's have a look. I got one I've inked up already. No, so let's just ink it up. And here's my brad hole. Here we go. So the Cool Cats dies cut 6 of these at a time. So even if you need a lot, it's still quite a quick job. So I've done 2 black and the paper. Then I'm just going to take another black one and just place it underneath. No glue, just your brad then through all of your pieces. And I think I've bent the leg of that brad. Let's try again. In we go. Then through the extra black one and fold back. Now I'm going to put some tape on top. So what we've got is all those glued, but also a space between the main piece and the extra one we've put on the bottom. So when I take this off now, I can glue this base straight onto my book. And what that'll allow me later, because I'm going to leave that dry before I do it, is to take a string around and through that extra space I've created. So that's a nice cheat method for if you've forgotten to put a closure on. So I'll come back and finish them later on. Let's go to our sliders. Is there a way I can fold these in? So we're gonna, again, cut some papers. Let's see if I can find two which sort of match nicely. These two are nice. And on the bottom one, I curve the top. And on the top one, I'm going to curve the bottom. Just making sure the wording was the right way around. So here we go. That's going to be the top one. And this is going to be the bottom one. Okay, and we're going to glue these straight on. And the top. And just find my template again. I'm just going to use the pencil now because it's not quite dry with me yet. And just as before, I'm going to create some folio closures. Again, these are just 2 black circles and the paper on top, with my brad going through the middle. And we are going to, oh, of course I can take these out, couldn't I? Silly me. Let's make it a bit easier on ourselves. And on the bottom. So let's get those closures in. And the bottom one. So because there's no glue on this one, I can go to the wrapping straight away. Now, of course, you do need to cover the backs. And when you open up, what you've got here is a space for 6x4, 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 and a 6x4. So there's 4 in here. Got to slide the top one in first. And then this one is just slightly narrower spine, so it slides on top. So there's room for 8 photos in here, 8 here. So there's another 16 photos. So let's do this one, just because I said there's glue on these ones, not on these ones. How am I going to do it? Bottom, top. So we're going to start at the top. Again, get underneath this brad closure. Go. Just get my scissors in there, and this is now where you want to keep it nice and tight, because this is what keeps your sliders from just sliding out. So I'm just going to wrap around twice, and my magnets have joined my brads, and my brads are spilt everywhere. It's a little job for later. And again, we've got some thread ends. Let's just put some tape on there. Let's just add some glue. And another end. And then I will just repeat the process for the other side. So the only parts we've really got left to go now are our pouches. And I got a cool new closure for these pouches, which came about quite accidental. Now I think, if I remember correctly, I'm going to get all this out of one 12 by 12 sheets. I'm going to look for a nice pattern. Here we are. Okay. Now let's get my ruler. No, so it wasn't one whole piece. Just cut, if we cut the blue from there, what are we going to do here? Let's see, is there another sheet with it? Actually, this could be quite nice because I'll be able to get the pattern going across. Let's go for this one then. 6 inches. And a bit different this time because we've got these flaps. I remember what I want to do. You think about the middle bit. That's where you're going to have your pattern continuation. So I think that map might be really nice to go across. So each of these pockets are 3 inches. So that means 2 3/4 inches on the map. So 2 3/4 and 2 3/4. Then whatever I've got left, which is 6, so 6.5. So is it 6.5? Yeah. So 6.5 is 3 1/4 would be half. So these second bits, these larger bits, are going to be the liners for our pouches. So I'm just going to ink 3 sides that way and 3 on this side, because they're going to go under, so you're not going to see that edge. And then these 2 bits are going to work together, and these are the front. And the last bit, here we are. Okay. So if you're going to use magnet closures, of course, stick them down now. Whereas I'm going to use another Cool Cat's Clever closure, but not one you might have seen before, because the one I'm using today actually came about by accident. I thought, and it turned out really, really well. So my accident has now become something I'm actually starting to use. So there we go. Where have I? Here we are. So this is the one I've inked. Nope, I've inked those 3 sides. So it's going to go in here. That's going to tuck in. Now I'm going to bring this time almost to that first score line. Here's the first, there's the second. Just almost touching. And the same on this side. Just almost touching. There we are. So there's those 2. Now we've just got the fronts and the backs of the flaps. Bring in our trimmer, and our flaps are 2 3/4, so I want them to be 2 1/2. Go this way then. 2 1/2, 2 1/2, 2 1/2, and I'm going to keep this side, I think, 2 1/2. because I think that one would look nice on the left hand side. Then this will go on the inside, and this will come on the inside of this flap, so the hole's going to go this, the corner round is going to go this side, and then this will be the front of this one. So bringing in some of that blue. There we go. Right, let's get rid of them. Some quick inking. That's the left hand side. Sorry, right hand side. Oh, that's that one, because the numbers are upside down. This is the left hand side one. Okay, so if I bring in my original Mechanical SeaWorld one, I did some corset closures here to keep them closed. Okay, so if you're going to do that, you can pierce the holes into the flaps before, once you've glued the fronts on. But I'm going to do a brad closure using the brad closure dies from Cool Cats today. So let's put this one. When it opens up, we got this side. And then on this side. And here we go. That then is our pouches all covered. The only thing is we need a way to close them. So I'm going to show you what happened to me by accident. So I've got these are brad closure dies from Cool Cats, and you get the base, but you also get a die which will cut. Oh, there they are. A decorative mat with them as well. And you get a few shapes, it's not just this one. They've got quite a few. So I'm going to glue that onto the black. And you'll see now how nice a matte layer you've got. And just for strength, I like to glue another black one made up from the cardstock, so it's nice and strong on top. Because these are going to be fiddled with and moved about. So the idea is then you would do a hole there and put your brad through. But obviously I forgot to do that originally when I was first going to use these dies. So I had to think of a way around. So what did I do? I got my folio closures as before, just as I did for the bottom flap book one. I took one of these, glued it onto a circle, then glued another circle on the back. And I took my brad and I went through the closure and through my folio circle. I opened up the back. There we go. And then that gave me something to glue onto the paper, but also the freedom of movement for my brad closure. Oh, I cut it a bit too long. So some nice strong tape. That'll hold it in place for now so it doesn't move, but the glue will give us a bit more of a permanent adhesion. So the way I put it on then, let's grab our ruler. So halfway down would be 3 1/8, so it's about here. And I'm going to take the circle. You can look, the brad closure's off to my left because I want it to swing to the right. And I'm just going to place it there. So just up against my flap, not over it, but up against it. And once it's dry, I'll be able to move that around to there. Let's do one more. So you take your patterned paper, glue it onto a black piece of cardstock, glue another one onto the back, take a decorative circle. Now I've already inked these, in case you're wondering how it's got a black border. And then another black onto the back. And then just take our brad through the patterned one and into our folio circle and open it up. Now this will work with a lot of the shaped folio dies the Cool Cats have. There's a nice like long arm one, which is really nice. I don't think I've got them with me down here at the moment. Otherwise I'd have shown you. Right, and I need to bring it in. 3 1/8. They seem even with each other. And once that's dry then, oh, not quite dry yet, I'll be able to swivel that around that way. So by now, my folio circle here will be nice and dry. So I'm going to tie a piece, I've got a needle stuck there. Tie a piece of my wax cord around my brad. Snip off the excess. Just measure. Now, make sure we're going through that space between the one stuck and the two blacks we stuck together. We're just going to go over the top, not too long, and then another of those ribbon ends. Okay. And depending then what you've got left, I mean I've got plenty of, we've got a whole sheet here. I can now cover this, and the top and the bottom. I'd probably just put a black piece on the back if I haven't got enough paper. But they're nice, simple, just 8 1/4 inch strips there. So what have I got left to do now? To do is my second closure here, and my second closure on my flip book. So there we have, oh, and the photo slot one there. So there we have the basis of your deluxe wallet album. So hopefully you'll watch the walkthrough as well, or you've seen the walkthrough already and that's inspired you to come over. So I will just do all the little finishing touches and look forward to seeing yours. Now, if you do have a go, please share with me in my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul. I'll add a link to the description below. But if you just type Paper Crafting with Paul into Facebook, you'll find it. And also, please hit that subscribe button, give me the thumbs up and write some nice comments below. I like to read what you think of my makes. And yeah, the original wallet album was really popular, so I hope this one will be too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.